Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Hello, this is Western Spring Television. My name is Damilola Raphael, and I'm hosting The Book Show. These days, our lives are so busy that the only time we get to read a good book is when we finally crawl into bed. Ah, yes. Before we fall asleep and enjoy a well-deserved good night's rest, there is nothing more rewarding than to sleep under the covers, grab a book, and lose ourselves in a compelling story, just like in the movies, right? But how often do we find ourselves lying there, reading away, flicking through the pages, when suddenly our eyes start to feel heavy and we find ourselves drifting off to the land of Nod? A lot. Falling asleep while we read a book happens to all of us, and when we least expect it. Sometimes when we're not even in bed. No sooner have we dove deep into the captivating tale we are reading, and our eyes start to grow heavy, flicker, then close, as we lose our battle to stay awake and gradually drift off. However, sometimes when we are not in bed, we can also find ourselves drifting off to sleep. But why does this occur? Why do we fall asleep so very quickly? Is it because the book we are reading is so boring? Are we reading in a well-lit space? Are we getting enough sleep? Or do the stresses of our days eventually catch up with us and force us to sleep? Well, there are various reasons. When we finally settle into bed and pick up a book to read, we do so lying down or sitting in a comfortable position, snugly wrapped up in our duvets in the cold months, or covered by just a thin sheet when it's warm. We feel settled. The room is usually dimly lit, and by bedtime, there tends to be peace and quiet around the house where not a creature is stirring, not even a mouse, or maybe Jiminy Cricket. All these factors combined help to create an exquisite atmosphere in which we can forget about the madness of the day and slowly sink into a state of relaxation and sleepiness. But we don't just fall asleep whilst reading in bed. We can snooze when we're in a cafe or on the move. When we're traveling in a car or on a train, we can also feel sleepy when reading because we get so immersed in what we are reading, our minds become distracted and we forget about what's going on in the world around us, which puts our minds at ease. However, if what we are reading is not interesting, the effort we put in to stick with it can be so tiring that we start to daydream and ultimately drift off. Falling asleep reading a book at bedtime is not considered a sleep disorder. Because we're in a restful position in a dimly lit room and our minds are no longer distracted by the real world, our brains will naturally relax until we fall asleep reading. Okay, so you have a problem staying awake while reading. Here are some handy ways to ensure that you can stay alert. Read the text out loud. If you do this, you will find it harder to fall asleep because you're concentrating on saying the words. Next, wake yourself up with something cold. To stay alert, it is a good idea to either splash cold water on your face, have a rejuvenating shower, or by simply drinking water. In fact, a cold drink is the easiest way of staying alert, as the more you drink it, the more likely you are to stay awake. Drinking a lot of fluids means you will end up having to go to the bathroom rather a lot, which will also make it much harder to fall asleep. Third, don't make yourself too comfortable. When you're relaxed, it's easy to fall asleep while reading because we are in a position that lends itself to drifting off. In our cozy state, our brain and body associates being in bed with sleeping. So, even if we think our mind is engaged by what we are reading, the coziness and warmth of the bed will lead us to drift off. To avoid getting too comfy, perhaps sit upright in bed. It will definitely help you from spontaneously falling asleep. Next is to go out in public. If you sit in the library, you're less likely to fall asleep while reading. Imagine how embarrassing it will be for you to start snoring away in front of a room full of people. That way, you are much more likely to focus your attention on reading. Get a full night's sleep. It is understood that at least 8 hours is the required amount of slumber for people to feel properly rested. So, to avoid feeling weary the next day, make sure that you get a good night's sleep, as it will help you function better the next day. Moving on. Do not try to read a book in one go. It is very hard for anyone to be able to read an entire book straight through without getting bored or distracted or falling asleep. But don't beat yourself up about it. It's only natural. To keep your mind fresh and alert, take breaks and go and do something else instead. Or perhaps decide to read the book in portions. Breaking the material into chunks will help prevent you from getting too tired, and you'll actually feel like you're getting through the book much faster. Make sure that your environment helps you to stay awake. If you're in a quiet, dimly lit room, the chances are you will fall asleep while reading easily. To avoid this, make sure the room you're in doesn't make you drowsy. You can do this by keeping the room brightly lit. Open the windows to let fresh air circulate, and maybe play some rousing music that isn't too calming. Now, this works for those of us who use the earplugs when we want to read. And if you don't want the room to be too bright because of the environment you're in at that time of day, if it's at night, then you can use your torch while you're reading. I need some air, water, and snack myself. You be swift, I'll do the same. Right back.
Born 16th September 1923, named Harry Lee Kuan and known as Lee Kuan Yew, he was often addressed by his initials of LKY. Lee Kuan Yew was a barrister and the first Prime Minister of Singapore between 1959 and 1990. Educated at Raffles Institution from 1936 to 1940 and the Fitzwilliam House between 1947 and 1949, Lee Kuan Yew established a highly effective and anti-corrupt governance system that midwifed the transformation of Singapore into a high net worth income economy within a generation. He never hid his exception to Western mode democratic ideal, which he believed had not assisted developing nations to attain good government. Before his death on 23rd March 2015, the People's Action Party, which he founded, had used his political influence to establish the United World College of Southeast Asia to expand his economic ideas among countries that constitute the Asian Tiger. Western Spring Television identifies Lee Kuan Yew as a major character in history.
That was refreshing. You're welcome back. Let's take on our guests now. Bode Ojoniyi. He is an actor, a director, and a 2017 award-winning playwright of Olu Obafemi Society of Nigeria Theatre Artists Playwriting Competition. He is also a postdoctoral fellow of American Council of Learned Society African Humanity Program. He has published several plays, among which are Once Upon an Evil Genius, The Primate and the Lost Clergy, The Infidel and the Bloodsuckers, For the Love of Sisyphus, A Visit to a Graveyard, A Dance of Beasts, Our Wife Has Gone Mad, etc. Now, some of his yet to be published works include Back to Eden, Beggars Leagues, One Blackmail Too Many, to mention a few. He is currently the Director of Studies at Center for Performing Arts and Film Studies in Education, Osogbo, Osun State, Nigeria. Now, with the rustling of pages, please welcome on set of the bookshelf the esteemed Dr. Bode Ojoniyi. We're glad to have you on set today, Doctor.
Thank you very much. I'm also glad to be here.
Okay, so let's talk about the material we're going to be reviewing today. You have quite a number of them. Death in a Mask. I think you brought in the music legend Fela's Republic. You married it with the African traditional religion as well as the Christian religion successfully. How were you able to do that?
Well, I've always been an admirer of Fela because Fela is a social crusader and activist, or was a social crusader and activist, and this some of the things he stood for, things he fought for. They are the things I also want to live my life to fight for: social justice, inclusiveness. I mean, functional education, functional government, being responsive to the people, and doing things that will actually enhance the life and the living of the people. So these are things that Fela lived for, that some of us will also want to live for.
And as they will say, Abamieda lives on.
Yeah.
So he lives on the pages of Death in a Mask.
Yeah.
Now, at the part where people speak against, what they've once been a part of or what they have once benefited from. For example, now the presbyter and Oshelu, at a point, Oshelu overran Ojetunde and killed him. And then at that time, it was all praise the Lord from the presbyter. And now Oshelu is being stabbed, being macheted, and it's not penetrating his skin. And the presbyter seems to be like, there is something fishy. I mean, this was the same individual, Oshelu, being grateful to God for his life, having victory over the devil in quotes, and now the devil not being able to have victory over him.
Well, you see, life is all about interest. And most of the time, these interests could be so self-centered, parochial, if you like. Until we move out of self-centeredness and parochialism and we're able to see life in a broad sense, then some of the issues we hold dear, we may not even hold them dear. Now, you will see that the presbyter was praising Oshelu because that time Oshelu seems to be serving their interests and what they feel they are comfortable with. But now, Oshelu, something has happened that has challenged their interests. And so Oshelu is no longer welcomed because of that. So this is a challenge. Once you break out of people's interests to pursue your own interests or assert your own interest, then there will be conflict.
Now, let's talk about Oshelu. How do you come up with, the appellations? For example, Oshelu's Bole Kaja Lori, the registration number.
Yeah, you see, there was a time I saw a cartoon, and then I think the writer of the cartoon said that this cartoon is a product of mischievous imagination of the designer. So some of the things you see there are also a product of what you will call mischievous imagination of the creative writer.
Okay, so the creative writers also have mischief up their sleeves.
Yeah. There are so many pictures, so many ideas bubbling and fighting for reference and relevance in your mind, and then you create and recreate. It's all about creativity. It's all about being expressive.
All right. If you want to know what the plate number, the number plate right there, the registration number for that Bole Kaja, you would have to go dig into Death in a Mask right there. All right. Let's still talk about this Bole Kaja. You have staged, a lot of your plays have been staged. Yeah. What would best suit being used to represent the Lori on stage?
Yeah, this is where the director comes in, and then those of us who have been in the theater, there is a way we create cars or lorries on stage. Of course, you use human props to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are ways to do it. Yeah.
I mean, because he was engaging, Oshelu was engaging the gear, and I'm trying to, okay, so how is that going to play out?
I don't know if you have seen the production of Wole Soyinka's The Lion and the Jewel before. In The Lion and the Jewel, actually, the opening scene, I mean, there was a creation of the car that, so you can always recreate this on the stage using, as I said, human props.
Human props, and that will have to do with a whole lot of
In fact, you create tires and you can gauge your tires.
Awesome, right there.
On the stage.
Okay, then this Mama, is it, well, how do you pronounce that?
Mama Shekpe.
Talk about appellations there. Mama Shekpe's response to Oshelu's narrative. Oshelu was giving the details of what had happened, and then, you know, of what transpired between with Ojetunde. That sounds like a house that's divided against itself. I mean, she claims to now be a devotee of the gods. Ojetunde was a representative of the gods, of the spirits.
Well, you see, those who speak for the gods, those who represent the gods, everyone has his own interest or her own interest. And of course, you want to package your own God. When you are the spokesperson of the God, you eat at the altar of that God. So in essence, whatever is brought to the altar of the God, you're actually the representative of the God. And if we dig deep, we will discover that you are actually the God. so this is about business. If you have read Wole Soyinka's The Swamp Dwellers, you may really understand some of these things I'm saying. You know, in The Swamp Dwellers, there is the god of the swamp, the serpent of the swamp. But Kadiye, as the priest of the serpent, is the only one that has been known to the people. Nobody has ever seen the serpent before. He's the one that takes sacrifices on behalf of the serpent. He's the one who comes to communicate whatever is the interest of the serpent, and is the one feeding fat on whatever is brought to the serpent. So at the end of the day, you discover that those who represent the gods actually are the ones who probably are the gods
themselves. Yes. Amazing. And then the informants, you know, within the structure of the police force, are working for the people, destroying the state. Talking about Suraju here.
Yeah, it's always like that. Every system, you always have people who saboteur, people who go behind because of whatever they are benefiting or whatever they are going to gain from the other side, they will be pretending to be with you, but they are actually working for the other side. So this you find in every society, betrayers, sycophants, and the rest. They are everywhere.
I would really have wanted you to sing one of the songs from the book, but because of time. Now, I know that, you know, you've had, as I said earlier on, some of your works on stage already. We look forward to having, you know, more of this, and maybe even a tour. How can the viewer get updates on some
of my works can actually be gotten from Osun State ANA. I'm a member of ANA. Nigerian Association of Nigerian Authors, Osun State branch here. If you contact them, you can get some of my plays, and there are a lot of things we do with them. And of course, the publisher's name is there, the number is there, and people can also contact me. I'm also on Facebook. I have blog, Ojoni Olabode Wale blog, and the rest. Also, some of these things.
What's the address on Facebook?
Yeah, that's my name, just Ojoni Olabode Wale.
Okay. For your blog and Facebook as well. Okay.
But then I also have to say that I'm presently with the University of Maiduguri. I'm not just the director of Center for the Performing Arts and Film Studies. I work with the University of Maiduguri. I'm in the Department of Theatre.
Awesome. Awesome. Some promotion right there. Glad to hear that. It's been a very, very beautiful unveiling, crawling into your mischievous space to get the best of the process. And I'm most grateful for that privilege, Dr. Ojeni.
Thank you very much for bringing me here.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
So sincerely. All right, dear viewer, you can't sleep off while reading in Dr. Ojeni's Abete. Is it Abete or?
Abete.
Abete. What does that mean?
Abete is like a joint. It's like a place you go to. You know, you were talking about Mama Shekpe. I don't know if you have ever been to some of these garage and the rest. You will see all these women who sell all these mixtures and the rest. So they are the people who call Mama Shepe. And most of the time you find the garage boys coming around them because they coordinate some activities for them. So it's the picture that...
Abete, right?
Yeah, abete.
Abete.
Yeah, like a joint.
A joint. Dear viewer, you can't definitely slip off while reading in Dr. Ojeni's Abete. You must have street sense by force. Keep writing. One day soon, the light will shine. You will sing your song on a global stage beyond an Abete, because I will be there to host you. My name is Damilola Raphael, and here is where we draw the curtain on the bookshelf. Until next time, it's goodbye and God bless.